here. If I write it, it comes from here. I can write what I want. What that got to do with your household? What that got to do with your family? I don't know them. I'm only writing it because I need this $50 you Greg give me. Oh, okay, all right, yeah, he ain't paying his bill. Yeah, holla. Well, you can be looking at it and say statement of account. Exactly. Now, when you see statement of account, what's that mean? If it's a statement of an account, that means it's an account somewhere, right? And somebody keeping the books, and they sent you a statement of an account, right? So if you're sending me a statement of account, why is there a box on there and you telling me I owe you something? You just sent me a statement of account. You're just telling me what's going on with my account. But they don't ever say bill. It doesn't ever say invoice, because when you're being charged for something, if I do work for you at your house, I'm going to write you an invoice and say, I fixed your toilet, your sink, and your tub, and this is what I'm requesting. That's a bill. What services have they provided? Did they give you an invoice stating or listing the services they provided? This is how you got to think. This is how you got to think. You're talking about writing writs. And that's just an example. It's not. That's just an example. You're talking about writing writs. Go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that we don't really know something. We learn about things, but we don't really know it until we operate within that thing. That's when we begin to say, oh, man, I did that wrong, or oh, I didn't really do that. And that's when we begin to really know.
You're right. What she said is we don't really know a thing until we begin to operate within a thing or within a system. Let's just say like Tim Tebow got picked up by the Eagles. Now, you know he can play football a little bit, but he don't know how to operate in that system because he's never been in it. Until he gets the playbook and he gets on the field and he starts running plays, he can't say he knows the playbook. Now, what's that got to do with writ writing? The last class that we did, we went through status and we went through jurisdiction. I wanted y'all to be absolutely clear what your status was and what jurisdiction they don't have. That was the whole purpose of that whole couple hours, right? And then after that, what I do? I put a writ up on the screen. Now, everybody that gave me their email address, you got the information because I sent it, right? You got the information. So that writ that was on there, what did I say do with it? Study. Study it. Study it. Now, if you got to write some dummy writs, so you get familiar with writing them. Don't just sit there and read it over and over. Write some dummy writs. And then get somebody to look at it. Now, when you write your own writs, don't think that you the stuff. Don't think you the sugar, honey, iced tea, and you just want to send it in. No, give it to somebody to read it first. Let somebody read it first. You know why? Because in your mind, you know that you was writing F-E-A-R. Now, in your mind, that's what you was writing, right? But in reality, what you wrote was F-E-R. But because your mind knows that you were supposed to write fair, you'll actually read fair. Because your mind knows that that's what's supposed to be there. So that's what you'll see. That's why you give it to somebody else so they can look it over. Write some dummy writs. If y'all ain't got the DVD, it's around here somewhere. If y'all don't have the information, leave your email address. I will send it to you. I ain't doing this for fun, although it is fun. I ain't doing it for fun. I'm serious. This ain't no game. They slaying us, guys.
No disrespect. I don't mean to change the topic a little bit, but the brother was saying that there's not enough time, and I might be mistaken in trying to interpret or anything, but my interpretation is that the reason why he said that is because you said that if Rome wasn't built, say it took how many hours? 6 hours. It was still done within 2 days or more than that those 6 hours. The machine that we're working against is a well-oiled machine, and they've been working hard and fast. And our family is so spread out. And when I look around, I only see a few younger people. So I'm kind of, I understand to me, to some degree, what the brother was saying, because our family, in the position I'm in, my blood, you know, and it probably happened with all of us. We're the only ones that probably think this way, and we have so much opposition against us. But what about the ones who are here and the other ones? Like, how come we don't, I wonder why we don't have a building.
Let me ask you this. Whose phone number do you have in this room?
I recently got big brother's, David.
Right?
And at one time I spoke with Taj, but I never had his phone number.
Right?
I apologize, Osiris.
Osiris ain't here.
I know.
Chief Osiris, but he ain't here. I said, how many people in this room? Whose number you have?
Just big brother David.
All right, just David. So what he said, Canaanite, was this. We scattered, and we're not a unit like we should be. Now, I got one more question for you. What's my appellation?
I'm not sure.
See? Now, here he is sitting in the class where I'm speaking, and he don't know my name, or my appellation, or my title. So, that's your fault. Because you should either after class, or before class, or during some other class, say, yo, I'm so-and-so, what's going on?
Right.
You ain't got to be bashful. We all family in here. Just by showing hands, how many people in here got my phone number? See? A lot of people sitting up there in Toronto got my phone number.
I respect that. I understand what you're saying. But it would be different if we go to the doctors and we have at least 3 people to go with us. If we go to court and we have at least 3 to 5 people to go with us.
For what?
For support.
Support?
Because that shows that the people, that shows your nation that is behind you.
Let me, hold on. That shows that you have support, and that shows that your nation is behind you. Let me ask you this. You think when Chinese people go to court, they take a bunch of people with them?
No, but in China, there's the majority of Chinese people. And when you go to court, how often do you see Chinese people in court? So you
I'm not talking here, I'm talking in China. I'm saying, when in China, do you think Chinese people take other Chinese people to court when they gotta go?
I'm sure they probably take their families.
They probably don't. But I feel what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. You're saying that if we show up in numbers, that they might show us some respect, right? Wrong.
I mean, but that's more about us respecting ourselves, though.
Let me help you with this, and then we'll go to you, bro. Let me help you with this. If you show up in numbers, it's not going to make them respect you anymore. What's going to make them respect you is when you open up your mouth and you can shut them down. That's what's going to make them respect. If 50 of us go out there, right, say so, all right, so you got to go to court, right? Now, when you go to court, only you can speak for you, right? We can't represent you. You representing yourself. You're here on special presentation to speak for you, right? So now you got everybody else, and we all sitting there fezzed up, turbaned up, and we just sitting there. What do you mean? Because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and they know they're going to pounce on your ass, and that's going to be that.
Right.
It could be 50 of us, it could be 2,000 of us. And they don't show nation, or they don't show support. What happens is this: when you study well, and if you're having trouble studying by yourself, reach out to somebody. There's a lot of people in this room, bro. Reach out. See, when you open your mouth and you know what it is that you're saying, that's when they respect you. How many people in here got nationality cards? How many people when they got nationality cards, get turned down for some type of, say, oh, you can't use that, you can't do this, you can't do that, with that same card? I flew to New Orleans with a nationality card, and I flew back to Philly with a nationality card. Mm-hmm. I ain't pull out no driver's license. I got one because I got tractor trailer. I ain't show it to them, but I went. And I came back. You know why? Because I was confident and I know what I know. And you ain't gonna tell me that this ID ain't valid because it don't got an expiration date. When I was up in Canaan land and I was running around with Mufti, when I was running around with Najwa, everywhere we went, we pulled out nationality cards. They didn't give us no flag. Half the times you don't even got to say nothing. Just look in your eyes. Y'all remember before when I asked y'all how many men in here was cowards? And ain't nobody raised their hands, and I said, you ain't got to. I said, I can tell. You ain't got to say a word. I can look in your eyes and tell you a coward. The same way they do. As soon as I look in your eyes and you look that way, I got you. As soon as I look in your eyes and you look that, I look at this baby, she ain't look away yet, and she still ain't looking away. She ain't thinking about me. I look in one of your eyes, you're like, because you're a liar. Because you got something to hide. Because you're ashamed, or because you're not what you say you are. It's the same way with them. It don't matter if you show up 50 deep. When you open your mouth and you're not who you say you are, then they got you. It's when you open your mouth and you're in control of your emotion. When you humble. Because you can say what you need to say and be real calm. Shut them down. You ain't got to raise your voice, be humble. Shut them down. Put his ego in check. Because he's sitting up there with his cute little black robe and he, come on, man. You ain't nothing but an administrative clerk. You got to be elected to that position. You and judges get appointed. What you talking about, bro? How is it that the Albion is claiming to be a sovereign citizen in our land? And he's going in these courtrooms and these tribunals, and he got these chumps getting up out their seat, walking about the building. It ain't 50 hillbillies with him. Go to YouTube. It's one hillbilly. Look here, boss, bro, and they running out the jail. We don't need to be 50 deep, bro. You need to be 50 deep up here. Work on that. 50 deep up here. Go ahead, bro.
Basically, pretty much said what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to do what I was going to say. Like, it's all my youth, bro. Like, you can sit in many classes you want, you listen whatever you want, you read whatever you want. It's really all on you. If you really want something, you'll make that effort. Like, I'm not trying, like, please don't take me to supernatural. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, where you at? If I want to learn something, I'm going to set somebody foot. I'm going to make it as what you teach me. It's that simple. If they don't teach me, I'm going to go to the source. You want a group to study with? Make that effort. The group comes to you.
Exactly.
It's the law of attraction.
Exactly. I didn't say it 1,000 times. What the brother's saying is, if you want it, let's go get it. I think I done said it 50 times in the past couple months. If you want it, then go get it. I want it. I'm going to get it. Last week we had a meeting at Delilah's house, right? I was tired as all hell. And I did not want to leave the house. But I got up and I sat there for 6 hours. 6 hours on a Sunday when I ain't feel like moving. But I got up and went. Because it's time. It's time. The prophet said it was going to be a gang of young boys that was going to come and kick the door down. I'm kicking. I ain't pushing Taj out the way. How can I? I'm going to sit at his foot every chance I get. And listen. He ain't got to say nothing to me about law. He ain't got to say nothing to me about civics. He ain't got to say nothing to me about politics or nationality. Just the mere fact of sitting there, man. I'm absorbing all that energy. And then I come stand right here and give it back to y'all. Just from sitting around it. Just from sitting on the phone talking in the booth and listening to him, he be going on and on and on and on and on. And I just be sitting there listening. And I wonder if he be thinking, like, this punk ain't listening to me. I listen to everything you say. Everything. Absorbing it all. When I was talking to Amu, I absorbed everything he said. I'm sitting there putting together entertainment, a bookshelf, racking in everything he said. I'm racking it in. And what I'm doing, I'm putting it in the memory banks. Once you hear it, you can't unhear nothing. You already heard it. Use it. Yo, 50 deep up here, man. 50 deep up here, yo. 50 deep up here. They might say you got multiple personalities, so what? So what? Like she said, they don't know which one coming. This list right here, get familiar with it. Check it out. Candyland, y'all gonna have this list tomorrow. Verb, noun, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, interjection, figures of speech, literal, figures of speech, figurative, figure of speech, simile, metaphor, hyperbole, oxymoron. And it's a little test on the back of the page for y'all. Do the test and bring it back. I'm a grader. I want y'all's too, Canaan Land. Any questions, any comments, anything anybody got to say? Canaan Land, anybody got anything you want to add?
Can I have your number, please? I have your number. My name is Kitty Essex.
Go ahead, bro.
When you flew to New Orleans from Philadelphia with your nationality card, was it uncontested?
No, it wasn't uncontested.
Okay.
So the question he asked was when I flew to New Orleans from Philly, was it uncontested? Absolutely not. I walked up there and I gave him the nationality card and I gave him my ticket. And they said, now let me tell you what I did beforehand. Let me tell you what I did beforehand. I already knew TSA was going to want to hold me up. They was going to want to arrest me. And when I say arrest, look up that word arrest. That just means that they stop my motion. It don't mean they cuff me. Arrest means stop your motion. When you get cuffed, you're being detained. See how they play with words, y'all? I knew they was going to want to arrest me. So, all right, cool. I prepared for it. I called TSA 2 months before I knew I was going to fly. Right? Listen, I got the recording on my phone or something. Listen, I need to take a flight, but I don't have no driver's license. I said, I'm a Morris national. I said, I'm going to be using my nationality card. He said, oh, okay, yeah, well, no, we accept tribal cards. Hold up, boss. I didn't say I had a tribal card, although tribe means family. Don't run from that word. I didn't say I had a tribal card because if I say I got a tribal card, then that means that I have subscribed to the BIA. That's the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which means that I'm in cahoots with them. That's not what I said, boss. I said I got a nationality card. I said I was a Moorish national. So he said, hold on a second. Let me go over here and talk to somebody. So he went and put me on hold. So he came back. He said, listen, bro. He said, thing is this. That's not on our primary list of identification. He said, but you can use it as a secondary ID. I said, secondary ID? I said, what's that mean? He said, as long as you have something else with that same name, you can use the ID. Now, that's a crock of crap because I'm going to use the ID. You know how much stuff I got with that, with my appellation on it, with my domicile on it? You're going to make it that easy? But it's just that easy. You know why? Because I didn't just say, all right, they ain't going to let me do it. Now, you sitting right there next to Abdullah. Abdullah, how many times you flew with your nationality card?
25.
25. Abdullah Iltali Mosi Bey. Him and Taj flew all over the place with nationality cards.
No social security card, no nothing.
No social security card, no nothing. Now, if y'all wonder where I get a lot of this stuff from, I got it from listening to that dude on the phone for 2 hours, for 3-4 hours a day. I got a thorough education. Between him and Taj, and just me going in on my own. But, talking to him all that time, talking to Taj all that time, and me being me, gave me the confidence to move however and whenever I want to. Flat out. Now, it took me about 12 minutes to get out of here. When I was here at Philadelphia International Airport, when I was in New Orleans, I was less than 3 minutes. I never seen one of these before. Okay, where your supervisor? Came over there and said, look, man, I got this, I got that. Go ahead, bro, have a good day. It was as simple as that. If you know who you are, you can't let them tell you who you ain't. 50 deep. I'm gonna get some t-shirts that say 50 deep. Real tough.
Do that.
That's what Pac tattoo said though.
Huh?
Tupac, everybody knows Tupac, right? That's what his tattoo said though.
Yeah, Pac had
His
50
chest,
deep.
it said Thug Life, the AK, he said 50 niggas, that's what it meant. 50
There it is, 50 deep.
One brother for every station.
There it is, 50 deep. Pac talked to y'all today.
Right.
Listen, I got Marley on. Yeah, listen. Rip writing is complex, but it's not. Life is complex, but it's not. It is what you make it. If you make it hard, it'll be hard. If you make dumb decisions, you're gonna get dumb results. It's simple. It's not complex, and it's not Greek. Go ahead, Mom.
Yes, I'd like to make a statement about believing in yourself. Using Tupac's mom, Afeni Shakur. She had 400 years against her when she was arrested for fighting for all of us, actually. And she was her own lawyer, and she won. She had to believe in herself.
1 second, bro. Go ahead.
This woman had 400 years. This is Tupac Shakur's mother. And I was around. I remember because I'm a Malcolm X person. So I remember that. She had 400 years against her. And she represented herself in court and won. So we can do it.
What she said is Afeni Shakur had
400 years, you can check it.
everything and more against her. And she represented herself in court and won, simply because she knew who she was. Now, if Tupac was what he was, for those of y'all who can hear Tupac, where do you think he got it from?
Got it from his mom.
He got it from his mom. Go ahead, bro. Peace and love. How you feeling, man?
Peace and love, brother. Feeling good.
Good.
Quick question. Fee simple absolute. Can you talk about that?
Fee simple absolute? You said fee simple absolute?
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm not understanding what that is. What is that? What is that specifically?
Legal term.
Who?
Legal term.
That's a legal term I'm not familiar with. You want to address it?
It more deals with closer to what is, would be assumed to be an allodial claim of right to property.
Taj said essentially what it is an allodial claim to property.
Sorry, say that again?
Taj said essentially what it is a legal claim to property. Write that down for me.
Although fee is related to feudal law, it implies a property unencumbered, actually.
Somebody just walked back there. For those of y'all who feel me, somebody just walked back there.
Yeah, listen.
Somebody, I don't know who they were, but somebody just walked back there.
Yeah, that's why you need your own place.
Any other questions? Comments? Go ahead, bro. I can't hear you. Turn the mic on.
Sorry, it's me again. I don't know if Taj could expand on this for me a bit, because it's fee simple absolute, and then there's fee tail. It's both claim to property, but if you could just expand on it a bit for me, so I can understand it better.
He's looking for you. He's looking for you.
Oh,
No, it's fee tail, no? It's fee tail.
Oh, all right. Yeah, he wants you to explain.
yeah, both of them deal, basically, that's a feudal way of talking about someone who's not burdened.
See, he was cooling, and you got him up out his
It's
seat.
essentially, all right. This is a feudal addressing of a state or property that would be in the nature of an allodial, aboriginal, pure, perfect title. It would be in that order, but this would be in relationship to a feudal order, a feudal law. So like if this is your computer, absolute, you don't have taxes on, you don't have a lien on it, and that's like a statement in the public record that this has no burden. So they can't tax it, they can't put any liens on it, they can't make any claims on it, etc. That's what this would represent in a feudal order. And this would be used more or less in, say, an operative transfer of properties under say the U.S. corporation company, which is a colonial operation of the Vatican, or Canaan land, which has the same international pseudo-national number as the United States corporation. They're one entity, and this would be their expression of what you would call an allodial title. But they will never use the word allodial because it doesn't operate in feudal law. So this would be what a feudal lord's land would be considered as opposed to a tenant. The same way you, as a natural of the land, sovereign of the land, would use an aboriginal title, this would be their version of an aboriginal title. But in that same nature. So it has no burden of any lord or any fees or taxes or any other burden from any outside party.
So essentially what he's saying is it's an allodial title.
In a way, yeah, but only in a feudal venue.
Okay, that explains it. The reason why I asked is because on my deed I was doing some studying, and that was on the deed, and I did look it up in Black's Law, and it speaks similar to what Taj says, but the fact that they put that on the title is just their way of hiding a allodial title.
Yes, yes. Now, for you would take this and convert this into an allodial, aboriginal, pure, perfect title. But they can't use that claim.
You got what I said, right? You got
Sorry, Taj, could you repeat that again? I didn't mute the button back.
Let's back up. Let's make things very clear. This would be a feudal venue by which they are claiming a pure title, unencumbered. But it implies allodial in character. But they would never call it allodial. Only you can.
And you got the copy of the allodial title I sent you, right? Last week?
Yes. Yeah, I have a copy of that.
Right. So study it and break it down and make it fit you. You follow me? Don't. But,
So when I communicate back with them, I could explain that I know what the fee simple absolute means.
All right, now, good. Now, keep in mind, anytime you see that word, fee, no matter how it's used, is feudal. A deed is feudal. And so you would take, in other words, this would be superior in a European venue for Albions. But for you, Asiatic, it would be an aboriginal title, which is superior.
Okay, P, so could you tie in the fee tail? Because I was,
I understand what you're saying.
It's similar, but it was causing me some confusion.
It's confusion because that's not your venue. See, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to understand. Whenever you're looking at these, it doesn't mean that the meaning of it in its nature doesn't apply to what you're seeking or where you're going. But the venue is not your venue. This is a Roman European venue to imply the aboriginal title of the true lords of the land. But it is not, in fact, equal. As a matter of fact, that venue you don't even belong in.
So pretty much that fee implements a tax.
This is what, no, that's what always implies, but it implies that this would be absent of taxes or liens in their venue. This would be the most high level of the transfer of estates and property. All right, like a feudal lord as opposed to a tenant. All right, but you wouldn't use it for you.
Okay.
Europeans would use it for them. If you have an instrument that implies this, you need not explain them anything. You take it and you convert it into your trust. That must be aboriginal. And so what you would do is a transfer of venue. Do you see? Having the same implied allodial principle, but you would say allodial. They will never say allodial publicly.
Okay, peace. So pretty much as I've got a allodial example from Brother SetenRa, which I've submitted to them. So what I'm basically doing is creating my own writ and putting my allodial.
No, this is what you're doing. Let's back up. Let's get clear. Let's get really clear. What you have is our people starting to get clear of who the true lords and sovereigns are, who have not been acting or being themselves. And what you have is substitute lords who have this title for their highest level of claim of estate, unencumbered. But when the transfer, or you're taking your reclamation or your reversion of estate back to yourself, you will not leave this as the title on your property, because it's feudal. You would transfer to an aboriginal allodial pure title and perfect title, which would, in the two different venues, would be similar or synonymous, though yours is superior. In other words, if you see an Asiatic with this, it's the wrong title for him, for his property. European, yes. You, no. If you stay in this with your instruments, then you're still in their jurisdictional venue. You're taking it out of their claim. This is an occupational instrument, even though it's dealing with estates and lands and properties. Your job, our job, is to take it out of the occupational venue and put it in its rightful heir venue, where it originally belonged, which is allodial, aboriginal, pure title, perfect title. You get the point? In other words, what you got, substitute and true heir.
Okay, I understand.
This is for occupiers. In other words, that's the boss, the fake boss in somebody else's house. Do you understand? Meaning that they would use that from a power position or an estate position as the highest superior claimant to a land. Yours would be aboriginal allodial title, you see? Now, the problem that you have with them is that they've been creating or acting as substitute. This is why it was necessary for them to create the corpse or the 14th Amendment and then take your estate and put it in a fiction and then create this superior for themselves. But if you pay attention to all instruments that they produce and give to people in relationship to a state, if they pay attention to the context, they will always be a tenant. You see? I cannot hear you, but...
Yeah, sorry, peace, brother. Because even from studying and reading over my mortgage papers, it refers to tenant in there.
Of course, because it's feudal. Whenever you see that, it's feudal. You see? But you being Asiatic and the real heirs to the land, Almanac, America, you see, you would have an allodial aboriginal title that they've been hiding. Do a little bit more study, you'll find this. Prior to 1913, they didn't have mortgages and stuff on these titles. They were allodial titles.
Wow.
You see? people are familiar with them because they are not familiar with that they're operating under European colonial operations. Fix that. Fix that.
Thing went off.
Do you all understand the nature of what he's talking about?
No.
Yes.
No.
Let me explain y'all, because I know the brother. His house was in foreclosure. And me and this brother met probably a little more than a year ago. So probably closer to 2. About a year and a half. Anyway, I was helping him with specific documents because they was coming to his house, they put padlocks on his house. I told him to take the padlocks back off, put your locks back on. I said, stand your ground, let them know who you are. I said, let your paperwork precede you. He sent in the paperwork, they didn't bother this brother for almost a whole year and some change. Now they just now coming back and they coming after him now. So then we got back at it with some more people. So his problem is just trying to figure out
Concepts.
exactly what needs to be done. So that's what we've been helping him with. So he just come in to get, just a little, like I was telling the brother earlier, nobody's doing his race for him. He's doing, but he's asking for guidance. He's asking for just that little bit of information that I might need to put me over the top. But the brother's been studying. So that's all I'm saying. When you reach out and say, hey, listen, can you help me out a little bit? Ain't nothing wrong with that. But at least show the initiative, because just like in anything else in life, when you show initiative, people will want to help you. But if you're just sitting on your hands, hey, look, man, I got other things to do. So the brother actually is not sitting on his hands. The brother actually has been getting it cracking. So then I don't mind taking his calls when he calls. And he calling from all the way up on the other side of Toronto. But they ain't got his house. Not at all.
Now, for everybody here, even part of what you're doing and part of why you're here is you're in the process of reclaiming your lost estate and being aware or made aware that you have one. You see, because most of the people don't know that their estate involves not just property, lands, but all hereditaments, corporal and incorporeal. You see, all of the rights, the liberties that our people have been battling for is contained in your estate that's under European colonial operations. And if your mind, as we was talking earlier, sis, if you're not aware that that's what's happening to you, economically, politically, and indirectly what we have called spiritually, then logically your conversation will be corrupted. And this is what SetenRa is saying. The real deal is focus and learn principles, and the principles give you your answers. When you're confused, that means you are not aware of principles. You see, meaning like this. If you can count, right? You don't get to China and start saying, oh man, in China, so maybe they have 3 legs instead of 2, because it's a matter of interpretation. You wouldn't do that, would you? No. Well, if you understand that's a principle, right? So if you comprehend that you've been under European colonial operations and they've adjusted or adopted legal terms to deal with the statuses of people, you would study the principles of what applies to you and what does not, knowing that you have an issue of diversity, meaning that when you have peoples interfacing or interchanging all over the world, or what you call different families of nations, the principle is called diversity all over the world. So that's the rule. You understand? What you find is some of these fundamentals have not been taught to our people by leader guys who've been claiming to be leaders and nations and tribes and all this stuff, and then don't teach their people diversity. Those are fundamental rules. So when they go out into the world dealing with other nation states or jurisdictions, and they don't know those rules, they get beat up. You know, it's like getting in the ring. Yeah, I'm leaning like this. And then, you know, guy goes, hook, 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 hook. And you run back in the corner telling the ref, they jumped me. And the ref hit me with his sneak. And the guy says, no, you didn't duck the jabs. Because I was like this. You just go put your left up. You know, protect yourself at all times. Well, don't look cute like that. Well, that's why you get beat up. Which means if you understand principles, no matter how it goes, apply the principles. Keep this in mind. Canaan land, right? Right?
Please, Brother, sorry, you missed the last 5 minutes.
Hook me up.
And kid, we ain't
Yeah,
going
because
back.
it went out.
Yeah, listen, every time we start really getting to the meat and potatoes with y'all, it cuts off. You were
Well, you already know the
offline,
deal.
you were offline, and I was offline.
That's exactly what the Moors were saying. Why is it when we get to the meeting?
Every time.
You already know the deal.
Well, listen,
but look at this.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna send the DVDs out ASAP so you'll have them in the midweek.
Yeah, but look at this, because we were also talking to the family here. Whenever we're looking at any instruments created by the Europeans that are operating in northwestern Mexico, which includes Canaan land, Greenland, the lower temperature zones, Mexico, and South of Mexico, and the islands, the same rules of the Queen of England are actually applied. They're disguised different ways because we're under European occupation. All instruments committed or created by them will be feudal instruments in their nature. You understanding that and knowing that, as soon as they give you a feudal instrument, you're supposed to make the adjustment. If you don't, it remains in their jurisdiction. I don't care how pure it sounds. You understand? The land is Almarak. Yeah.
Because we were just having a discussion here, going back to the birth certificate, and one of the Moors were saying that we have to incorporate to clarify the therapy of these things, the application, but if you could speak on that.
Repeat again so that everybody can hear your question from the beginning. The first part and the last part.
Hey, peace, Taj Tarik.
Peace, bro.
We were having a discussion talking about how since the Attorney General is lower than Congress, right, and we have seats in Congress, basically if we incorporate the birth certificate, they give us a certificate of incorporation on bond. So when we go back to the Attorney General, we have proof to match up the naval, which is the nationality, not the nationality, the birth certificate, back to our nationality and our roots under our indigenous last name. And then that's what will activate all our, securities. The securities, which is like the legal instrument, right? That will activate it in order for it to be an allodial document.
Now, this is the principle that must be understood. The birth certificate is an allodial, is a bottomry instrument by which the popes of Rome claim the offspring and the heirship to your estate, creating what is known as wardship tenures, demonstrated by their admiralty law, and of course with the yellow fringe they put around the flag, denying their obligation to the treaty. And what we have a tendency to do is start running after the instruments rather than using the law. Remember, the birth certificate, which is a bottomry instrument, was created by them with non-disclosure, with no substance for substance, where they have lied to the world to say that your mother sold you to them and sold you to the Pope. And then they took the baby's feet and pressed it on the paper because the baby could not speak, and say that the baby made a contract with them, and so the body is for sale and is put on the stock market as a fungible instrument. Then they require you to dance through a hoop to go claim it and try to authenticate it, to say that you're claiming the estate created by the representatives of the popes of Rome to reclaim your estate, without a knowledge of understanding contract law, that what is created in color and fraud remains in color and fraud. I suggest that that's another artful way by which the European is getting us to dance through hoops that gives him more time. I do understand the claim and the intention of the claim, but it's a new dance and a new waltz.
Peace, brother. So, in essence, then going back to UCC, we could never own the birth certificate because it's not ours.
Exactly. Not only that, it's an implied contract that is undisclosed, which makes it not a contract. And there's an implication that it is binding when any contract or any instrument, fungible or otherwise, implying an obligation with non-revealed natures or character in the laws of international law, common law, and in any fundamental law is dead ab initio. But I am not saying that they're not implying that this is what you must do to go along with them in the dance. I say take it in consideration, contract law. It must be mutual. Someone who's a minor in the mind or a minority cannot be held to contract because both of them are not what you call competent in law. If it has no substance, which it does not, if it has unrevealed aspects, which it does have, which it is a bond, and it is, and they told you that it's a birth certificate just to see when you were born and all this stuff, and they didn't tell you it was BERTH, which is shipping, etc. It's dead in law. You are not required to dance through 5 hoops to verify any damn thing because it's not your certificate. You didn't make it. That's not you. That's a private for-profit instrument made for the popes of Rome, and you have no burden of undoing what they have done. What you must do is refute it. But I do understand the dynamics of the dance that they presented for people, making them think they're going to get their hands on this bottomless pit of accounts and finances for authenticating it. But I do understand the process. But I say to you this: look at it with contract law, make sure everybody has the rules that govern contracts before them, and international law, and diversity, and then you answer your own question because it becomes obvious. I say to you this: declare your nationality, present it to the world, and all you do with them is put them on notice. You don't really need to file anything with them. You need to put them on notice because they are occupying your land, right? Aren't we right? And when they're talking about the birth certificate in any manner, they're talking about estate law, and they're talking about them administering a trust. Are we correct? All right. So if they're administering a trust and the heirs to the estate at some point show themselves competent in law and according to law, in propria persona, in their proper selves, then in law that makes them heritable. Am I correct? Therefore, by law, them stocks must come off the market and be released.
Peace, brother. Thank you.
All right, brother. Peace.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, so let's stand up.
When you were talking about an
Absolutely, you
Aboriginal
don't cheat.
and
SetenRa,
he used those two
we got one more
words,
question. If you can talk, we have a more here who has, or you want to, I think you want to wrap up, right?
Yeah, I need to wrap up. What's the question?
We put them,
All right, so,
it's sort of like relative.
we have more here,
Like that's their
communicating
version
about,
of saying
promissory
things
note
to that
in
that
regards
they
to,
can, because they can't claim that,
into
it's not their stuff.
right, right.
In
The
other words,
brother
like saying,
can,
Hold on
the
a second.
brother,
you know, it's like,
Because he's gonna, we're gonna follow this up.
substitute.
okay.
They sit there reading on,
research on
and
promissory
they're
notes,
trying to
so
hide this,
I
but they're trying to make the claim
but
so they
there's
create
some
some
rules that I
closest
want
to
to,
us as they
sort
probably
of
can.
finalize.
All the
Settlement
same
rules
and
and how they
similar.
deal with
Yeah,
promissory
but
notes
nobody's paying attention to this. They keep
import
saying
our
this and think they got it. No. What we
in America.
Now you got this.
You made a promissory note for what?
That's what I'm saying.
So in opening the
So what
door,
was it in regards
can he
to
then
was
write Aboriginal?
Okay, no, they are
If it's already nationalized, right?
But he needs
And
to know
the
that.
Aboriginal
we
logo
can
on
make our own money.
that particular.
Because you must produce yours like they.
Your signature, let's be clear. Once you sign a document, whatever document it is you sign, where there's supposed to be a release of some type of finance, or some type of currency, as soon as you sign it and you don't reserve your rights, you just authorize them to debit your allodial account. And then they actually go into your account that you just authorized them to go into. They take whatever funds they need and they tell you that they gave you funds when all they give you is electronic debits. So you can't create your own money because who you're going to trade it with. If you create your own money, where are you going to use it at?
I think what his question was, I think he's using that as an example, but what he was talking about is that there was a fund, what's it called?
It's a consolidated revenue fund, but
Consolidated revenue fund, that he says that once he makes a promissory note, that they should be able to then access that.
So
It's still against your estate. It's still against your estate. You gotta claim your estate. That's why you do a trust.
Well, let me let him ask the question properly, and that was.
the promissory note, us as people, we can create our own money with our signature, right?
No, stop. No, wrong concept. You're not creating money. Money is gold and silver coin. Money is essentially derived from the transfer of the precious metals that we call gold and silver. Gold being the alchemical metal of the sun, silver being the alchemical metal of the moon. And the moon governs the waters, the tides, etc., the womb of woman that brings us here. And moon and economy put together is mooning. Money is gold and silver coins, not the signature. Your signature gives allowance for them to go into the sistercute trust that they've created. So your signature is what you call an acknowledgement of the heir to the administrator of the estate to enter the trust. That's what your signature does. It does not create money. Wrong statement. I understand where you're going, but clear your statement up, because people usually say that, but it's an incorrect statement.
There's just got another part to that question.
Omar, listen, hold on. Out of respect, I gotta wrap it up.
All right.
I'm not trying to cut the brother short, but I told you we needed to wrap it up at 3. You know I'm headed out of town tomorrow. I got a lot to do. So out of respect, let me wrap it up. Listen, brother, get my information from Omar. You get with me, and then we'll work this out, all right? But for right now, we got to wrap it up.
But I comprehend where you're going, but remember, everything you say in law is specific, like this. From a European's perspective, because remember those statement concepts come mostly from Europeans, middle class who are being thrown under the bus, that are trying to get back to the republic. But they're corrupted statements. Do you understand? Their implication is directionally correct, but they're corrupted. Your words must be better chosen. We will talk about that in the future.
Thank you, SetenRa. Thank you, Taj.
All right.
Listen, I'm gonna put this DVD together, and you'll have them by the end of the week. This and the previous 2.
Peace.
All right, peace and love.
Hey, smooth sails with with the next couple of days, all right?
Thanks, bro.
All right, peace.
All right, peace. Islam.
You want to finish with the prayer or no?
Yeah, we will. Give me a quick second, because I'm gonna finish up here and then we can do it together. All right. 2 things. I want to make it clear that anybody who wants to go on the tour with Ross Bender Philly tour, which will be the first Saturday in June, needs to get squared with me or Sabrina today, because we'll be going next week, and when I come back next week, I ain't dealing with it. It's been probably 2 months that we've been letting y'all know about the tour. It's the first week in June, and it's a $25 donation. We got to cover a school bus, and we want to compensate the brother for his time. So if you want to go, see Sabrina, get your name, get the finance ready, and we'll do that. And a couple weeks ago when we had class, I told everybody to sign the list. And whoever signed in on the sign-in sheet, I will put numbers next to everybody's application, and we will pick a number from it. We will have a child pick a number. So can you come up here for a second, little lady? We're going to have the little lady pick a number. And whatever number she pick up, if the person is here, you get a black scarf. Now if we go to the next number, what's your name? Now, Mira, how you feeling tonight? Good. Can you help me out? I need you to pick a number between 1 and 32, okay? Say it loud into the microphone.
10.
She said 10. Y'all heard her say 10, right? All right. Number 10 is Ruby Whipple. Ruby Whipple's not here? Nope. Ruby Whipple? All right. Next number, please. Between 1 and 32.
2.
Uh-oh. She said number 2. Phyllis Ames. That you?
How many? You got Pam in there?
Huh?
What's the last name?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not number 2. Forgive me. That is not number. It's the second name, but it's not number 2. Sabrina's name is first. Ghana M. Sewit. That's you? I want to pay and get your Black's Law Dictionary. Hey, she gets a 1828 Black's Law Dictionary.
American Dictionary.
Brand new. It's yours. All right. Peace and love. All right. Listen, we won't be having class inside. The next class is going to be outside. June, I think that date is June 6th. It's the first Saturday in June. We'll be doing a Philly tour with Ross Ben.
That's
If
what
you want to go, that's 1828
Yeah,
Webster's.
18, you said Blacks.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1828 Webster's. I'm sorry. See Sabrina. If you don't have the finances right now, see Sabrina anyway and say, listen, can you put my name on the list? If you don't have the 25 notes today, see Sabrina anyway and get your name on the list. I'm not dealing with it when I come back. I'm letting y'all know now. When first Saturday in June come, we get on the bus and that's that. I got who? How many you got so far? You said 50?
I said number of people for the bus. Right now I have 2.
As long as we don't get past 45 people, we good.
Okay, I remember you mentioned the number.
Yeah. So I'm letting y'all know now, if you don't have the fiat to pay today, just put your name on the list and just have the fiat, have the 25 notes in 2 weeks. But when I come back, we're not dealing with it. We're going to,
That's right.
you said where is it?
Make sure we get all of this.
All right, so just for people who don't know, it's called the Mystic Philly Tour. We're going to do it with Ross Ben. What we're going to do is we're going to start off in Chestnut Hill at a water tower. At the Water Tower Rec Center up in Chestnut Hill, there's actually a step pyramid there. So we start off at the step pyramid. Ross Ben is going to go through the tour, and he's going to talk to you about the seven mounds that still exist in Philadelphia or the Shaxamatcha territory today. And at every one of these mounds, at every one of these magical places, mystical places, there's some type of waterworks. The biggest mound being right there at the Art Museum.
Yes.
The waterworks is right back there. Now, just because the European knows that you don't know about your history and you don't know what you're looking at, they got the audacity to put a picture of the Pyramid Mound back there because they know you don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
They put it down on the Schuylkill River because they know you're going to walk right past it and say, and keep it moving. So, sorry, go ahead.
You have a bus or how?
Oh yeah, we can get a school bus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get a school bus. So get ready for the, we get on the school bus and we going out there. So it's 25 person. The baby, if you take the baby's free. Yeah, if you take the baby's free. So we're going to hit that spot. And from there, we're going to head down into the Wissahickon Valley, or some people call it Valley Green. And what we're going to do down there is we're going to actually go to a place called Council Rock. Now this is where the elders used to go and meet. When it was decision-making time, this is where the elders would go and meet.